Hey guys, somebody brought me a trailer here to they just bought it, do a checkup on it, and fix anything that needs to be fixed, and I thought I'd take you guys through the process. So I'll flip the camera around here and we'll go over it. Okay, so here's the trailer. We are told it is a 14K 8 by 16. So we're gonna kind of check it out and see what needs to be fixed and kind of give him an idea of if he got good money for it. So first thing we're gonna do, take a look at the coupler. There is a little bit of slop in it, but that's kind of the way they are. We can definitely tighten that up with some spacers, but it looks to be in good shape. Everything works, so that's good. Safety chains, you want to make sure there's no stretched links, or sorry about the dirty gloves, no stretched links, or a lot of times they've been rubbing on the ground. You can see that one right, that one right there. It's been rubbing on the ground a little bit, but it's not, I wouldn't consider that beyond safe. They do make a gauge. I just kind of know from the years of looking at them, that one's still pretty good, but I would not want to let it hit the ground, rub the ground anymore, okay? So, but you'll notice stretch links. Make sure your hooks are good. As you can see, that little guy is no good. So, you know, cumulative, probably should be replaced. I'm not one of those super by the book sort of people, so I may just replace the hook. We'll see what the customer wants to do. So, Breakaway. This one does not have a tester piece on it, a little tester light. So we'll have to, you can see it's been opened up before, so there is a little battery inside of here. You can test it. Well, there's an issue. No cable, and the little loop is broke off, so we'll have to get a new pin. Now, when you go to buy these, if you're just buying just this pin with the cable, they do make different styles, so you need to be careful. You can't just go buy any Breakaway, okay? So that's something to really pay attention to. Sometimes it's easier to just buy a whole new actual switch here, okay? So we'll need to check the battery when we get inside and go through that. There's the cable. Obviously, they broke it off at some point. So, yeah. So we'll need to check that. And the way we'll test it is we'll pull that and see if the trailer brakes lock up. So, all right, going around it. Looks like it used to have a toolbox on it. That's no big thing. Wiring is a little bit getting old, but it doesn't look bad. No Scotch locks. You really don't want to have Scotch locks. Scotch locks are bad news bears. Plug don't look bad. It has been drug. Probably should be replaced, yeah, because this here is a sort of a stopper, and that keeps it locked in your truck, so that really should be replaced. As you can see, that stopper is pretty well. You can just see the edge of it right there. It should be there, but it's gone. So we need to get that replaced. The jack works good, turns easy. That's what you're really concerned about. Make sure this has been oiled and or greased. Make sure your foot's good and your pin's good. So everything's good there. I want to make sure you got good reflective tape. Need to have at least 50% of the trailer. So as you can see, we've got plenty. Check out your tag. So as you can see, this one, where's my finger? This one's a 2006 C&B trailers. So there's okay. It's a good thing to talk about. So you see it says 9,900 pounds, but this is clearly an 8-lug 6K or 7K or bigger axle, okay? 1/2-inch studs, so it's going to be a 6 or 7K. Most these days, your 7Ks are 9/16 studs, and your 5.2K, which is going to be 6-lug, or your 6K is 1/2-inch studs. That's not always the case, especially like in RVs, but a lot of times, like in equipment trailers, that's usually the case. So why does that say 9,900 pounds and 4,500 pounds per axle? It is because they had it derated, okay? 16 foot by 8, all that. So derating. What derating is in a lot of states, if you have over a 10,000 pound rated trailer, you have to have a CDL, okay? So what I'm sure they did was they rated the trailer down. They do it actually a lot from the factory. Somebody will order one and they'll want it derated so that they don't need, technically, air quotes, need a CDL to run it. So that's why they did that. I know it's hard if you don't really know what you're looking at. You see that, you're like, oh, it's only a 10K trailer. You got to look at the axles. It's really not a 10K trailer. And usually this tag is going to be up in here. Most trailers nowadays, especially, they're going to be here on the frame rail, somewhere on that side. It just depends. These older trailers, they put them out here a lot of times. That can be bad because a lot of times it can be rubbed off or something. So that's why they put them in the tongue. So that's just something, if you're trying to find the tag, that's usually where it'll be, is up there in the tongue. If you've looked at more than a few trailers in your life, you'll know that is 6-inch C-channel. That is 6-inch C-channel. The tongue is 6-inch C-channel. It is not a 10K trailer. It is clearly a 14K trailer, okay? So we're just checking around. All the D-rings look good. This does not have a rub rail, which in that era is pretty common. It's only in modern times that almost everything has a rub rail. So, but we got D-rings. You can check the ratings on them. This one, it's not really visible, but those are 5/8 or might be 1/2 inch, but I think they're 5/8 D-rings. They're rated for, I believe it's like 5,500 pounds a piece. So, check your fenders. In this case, they are welded on, as you can see inside, but grab them, shake them. These ones are actually really nice and solid. Very well welded on. You want to check your tires. See if you see those little wear bars right there. You do not want to be down to those. In the middle or on the edge, okay? You want to be above, like these are basically brand new. And the other thing you really want to look for is you want to see if there's any cupping. What it'll be is like that tread will be low, that tread will be high, that tread will be low, that tread will be high. It can be bad. Or if they've been underinflated their whole life, these outside edges will be worn off. If they've been overinflated their whole life, the whole center will be wore out. If there's an axle issue of any nature, one side or the other will be far more wore out than the other. Okay, so that's something to really pay attention to. Another way you can tell is if you come down here alongside of it and kind of eyeball it. This one looks pretty straight. That back one looks like it might be towed in like this just a tiny bit. Best way is to grab a board and put a board across there, and you can really tell. That's something you really should do when you're looking at a used trailer. You really want to pay attention to that. Something I want to add also, when you're looking at your tires, you want there to be the top towed out a little bit or the bottom towed in, however you want to look at it. That is correct. You want that, okay? So usually you can kind of just tell off a reference from the fender. It's kind of hard to tell in this video, but these ones are towed out at the top just a little bit, like they should be. You got to be a little careful with that because the fender could be towed in at the top, which would exaggerate the wheels or the tires. But you want them to be towed out at the top, towed in at the bottom, however you want to look at it. That means the axles are correct because when you put weight on it, it will flatten them out, okay? That is the case for a 2K axle all the way up to an 8K axle. Okay, when you get above an 8K axle and you're looking at a tandem dually trailer or even a single wheel trailer, but 10K, 12K axles up to semi-trailer axles, they're straight. You want the wheels to be straight. If they're towed in, towed out, towed like this in either direction, that's not good. They should be dead flat. And then the axle tube should be dead flat, unlike these that should have an arch in the middle. So that's something to really pay attention to. Also, you really need to be mindful that if this trailer was parked in here, like jackknifed in here, that one of these will be towed out at the bottom and one will be towed out or towed in at the bottom and towed out at the bottom. So you really need to be mindful of that. If it's not straight in its spot, or you see the gravel all roughed up or something where it's been jackknifed in there, that'll kind of throw off your visual here. Something you really should do when you're looking at a used trailer. You really want to pay attention to that. Because an axle issue like this trailer has basically brand new tires on it. Why? Did they really wear out? Or was there something wrong with an axle? Okay, it's something you really want to pay attention to. So I usually kind of, because I'm a welder, I kind of look at welds and things. Of course, this has got silicone on it, so this isn't a good example, but look at welds. If you can see, there's kind of a bow in this. Okay, so this is just flat bar. So from that tongue back to here is just flat bar. And it has been loaded heavy a time or two, because this is bowed out. I don't know if, there you go, you guys can see that. Okay, so that would be something I would probably be wanting to put a piece of C-channel behind here, or a piece of square tube, something to firm that up a little bit, because flat bar wasn't the best way to go. It's great strength this way, horrible strength this way. Not sure if that makes sense, but so probably needs a little stiffener in behind there. Yeah, I see, you can see it. So things to look out for. You also want to crawl underneath. You're looking at your axles, looking at your springs. Okay, look for any broken springs, look for any broken U-bolts. Okay, you can't really tell much of the brakes from out here, but you want to be looking for that stuff. Okay, you always want to see camber in the center of that axle. I think you can see it on there. You want to see a arch in the center of that axle. That is normal. Where you don't want to see an arch is out here on the edge. Like right there, you do not want to see the end of that axle flare upwards. That would be bad. So it's also something to look out for. You want to look across, look at all your hangers. See if I can get you zoomed in on a hanger here. There you go. You want to look at all your hangers, make sure nothing's wore through. And see, now we have a sign of an issue. That should not have a gap like that. That should be tight. It also has like zero grease, and it's got this black mark. It's probably somebody's done something with it. Okay, so there's something to look for. Okay, you want to look up inside. So that's something that we need to address. This has actually gotten, usually these are broke off. This is for your fender. There you go, bigger shot. Usually these are broke off. This one is not. So, and it's usually a bad thing, because in the old days they ran the wires through them. And yeah. So with hubcaps on here, you can't really see your axles, the ends of your axles. But it's a good, there's usually a rubber plug. If they're old enough, there won't be a rubber plug. There'll only be a metal cap. But if it's got a rubber plug, it's a good idea to pop it off and see if the grease looks decent. If it's really black and nasty, probably hasn't been done in a while. If there's basically no grease, probably hasn't been done in a while. Something to really pay attention to. Another thing, what you can check for, I'm going to go back up here. What you can check for is you do not want to see any wet, like oil look on the backs of those backing plates. Okay, that's your backing plate right there. That's the back of your brake. You do not want to see any sort of oil around that or around the edge of the brake. That means you've got a bad seal. You don't want that. Okay. Again, looking at your tires, everything's looking pretty good. Your axles are looking good, or I mean your fender's looking good. Yeah, it's got a license plate, don't worry about that. I don't know what these are for. It's a stake pocket, but not. I don't know, it's weird. These are a support for a stabilizer jack. I don't know if you can see, but that one's a little bit bent. I don't know if you can quite see that. So that's something we probably should fix up. Looking back here at your back springs. If these are wore, if these are wore up in here, then you've got an issue. You don't want them wore up on that. I can't quite see that one. I'll get underneath here later and really check it out, but you don't want any wear right there where these push up or push down. Okay? And you want to make sure that bolt's actually in there. So, all right. We'll get some power out and check our lights, but you want to have reds on the rear and ambers up front. Okay, this one's got a two-sided fender light. It's perfectly fine. Technically, most people don't, but you really want to make sure that that light there is working. Come on around. It's got good LED lights all around it, so I'm not too worried about that. Just got to make sure they work. Pull your ramps out. Make sure they're not bent. Make sure the mount. This is a good strong mount on here, but make sure the mount is all good. and the pin is good, which it is. So keep on going around, and we have an issue. That is a flat tire. I don't know if you can see that, but it is flat. So we're looking at the same things over here, same kind of stuff. See, here's more what this should look like. There's a tiny gap there, but not really. It's just kind of a shadow, but no grease. I don't know if I can get you guys up in there. Yeah, there's no grease anywhere. So make sure your bolt's in there. And actually there, same with that one. That's your actual spring eye bolt right there. Okay, so trailer tires. Again, besides checking them, you always want to run them. Let's see, where is it on this tire? Let's go over here to this tire. Right here. You always want to run them. Where is it? There it is. At their max 80 psi, or very near it. I mean, like 75 pounds is okay. But not only does that give you your max weight rating, which granted you don't always need, you're not always fully loaded, but trailer tires are very, very soft sidewalls. Very soft sidewalls. All of them, inherently, that's the way they are. Also, you can tell a trailer tire ST. That's how you tell it's an actual trailer tire. Not just a tire somebody has put on a trailer, an actual trailer tire. In fact, right there, it says for trailer use only. Okay? You always want to run them at full pressure because they have soft sidewalls, and you know, it may ride a little rough when it's empty, but you will have issues when it's hot out and you put a load on it or anything of that nature. So you really want to make sure of that. Okay? So we're doing some checks. So as we can see, this side does not appear to be bowed. Maybe a little bit right here, but it's not bowed. So maybe it is not, I think it's just been touched right there. So maybe it is not a frame issue as much as they just kind of crammed a piece of metal in there, but we'll probably still put a stiffener on the back of it and do that. So, all right. I think we about looked over. You want to look at your deck boards. This one is a little bit unconventional. Usually there's a strip on the front and back that hold the ends of your boards down. But these boards are actually doing really, really well. I'm actually quite impressed with how straight they are for looking pretty old. But you want to see if there's any holes. Like there's a hole right there, but it's not all the way through. 2 bolts, at least every other cross member is usually a good thing. This one alternates. It's got one there, and then one, see if you can see one right over there, and then 2 bolts, and then it alternates again. So that's a decent pattern. It's definitely working for them. So also on the deck, you want to get down here and make sure there's no bows in the center, bows downward. Okay, you want that to be as straight as possible. If there's downward bows, there's a possibility it was either A, not built strong enough, or B, has been severely overloaded in its life. So that's something you'll also really want to pay attention to when you're kind of checking out the deck boards and stuff. Back up front, make sure you light back, it's not bent. And yeah, so there you go, guys. Kind of a quick video on what you should look for on a trailer. If something you like, make sure and hit the like button. And I can definitely do some other stuff like RVs or something like that. So if you want to see more of that, just let me know. Thanks, guys.